Ah, hello there. I see you got an invitation to this little, quaint soiree here at the Gamer's Den, the Nexus Libram, isn't it? Yes, understand that you took part in a poll recently, opting to look into what makes a vigilante tick, how they operate, the best way for them to function, and all of these things. I mean, why would you be so interested in some malignant little lawbreaker like that? I mean, honestly, what's all of existence coming to if we are gonna just celebrate these kinds of nut jobs out there, running around in masks, going out and fighting criminals in the middle of the night? Can you believe that? No. It's best to just leave some things undisturbed. Hello everyone, and welcome back down here to the Gamer's Den with me, your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire, and I'd opted for a costume change, but damn, I'd just like to be dressed up every once in a while. Feels kind of nice. But thanks to you, all of you Gamer's Den faithful, you loyal followers and subscribers who have somehow taken us over the 800 subscriber mark, god damn, thank you for that. How'd I get so many of you to follow me? Because of the poll that was recently thrown up on the community tab, we are covering the first edition Pathfinder Vigilante, the Dark Devil Moon Knight that dares. We are going to go into this class and look at something that allows you to make that iconic anti-hero figure. Your Batmans, your Moon Knights, Daredevils, etc. All of these characters who don a mask and go out to fight crime and stop those who would commit injustices upon the everyday city peoples. These are what we're going to look at building today by diving into the Vigilante. But before we get into all of that, if you're new here to the channel, go on down there, hit the subscribe button, and become a regular member here at the Gamer's Den. Or, if you've already gone on ahead and done that, you legendary people you, then go on down to hit the like button and share the video far and wide. But now, let's actually start looking at what we need to do to build a vigilante. And to start off with, we should do a quick overview of what the class brings you, the chassis, the overall body of the thing. Now, to start us off, we get a D8 for hit dice. Not bad at all. You're not going to be the frontline tanky character, but your skills will let you get into position to really lay out a good ambush, and a D8 is more than enough to handle that. Now, you're not going to be as tanky as the fighter or the paladin with their D10s, or the barbarians with their absolutely legendary D12s, but you're still going to do pretty alright for yourself. You also get great reflex saves and will saves to deal with all those traps, blasting spells, and any attempts to dominate your mind and turn your terrifying abilities on your allies. You get an okay to maybe great base attack bonus progression depending on what features you select as a vigilante. You also gain all simple and martial weapon proficiencies, and light, medium armor, and shield proficiencies, meaning you're actually going to be pretty decently armored. You're going to certainly be doing better than most rogues out there. It helps to make up for that D8 hit dice that you have. You also gain a number of skill ranks equal to 6 plus your intelligence modifier each level, which is pretty hefty and handy given the wide array of skills that you will have access to. And then, as was kind of alluded to for the Vigilante, you have dual class bonuses and abilities that go with the separate identities of iconic Vigilante characters. This is how you have the Vigilante normal person alter egos, personas, whichever one is actually the real you, whether it's the masked Vigilante crusading along the streets and through the back alleys, or the upbeat person out on the streets just trying to blend in with everyday society. Whichever one is the real you just kind of depends on how you want to write and flesh out the character overall. But now let's take a look at the races that are most ideally suited to becoming vigilantes, or at least a handful of them. To start us off, they're the baseline by which every other race will be measured and compared to. It's humans. Humans give a +2 bonus to any stat, bonus skill ranks, and then an extra feat. However, I would consider picking up Dim Dweller in exchange for those extra skill ranks. this will provide you with a +2 racial bonus to Intimidate, Perception, and Stealth, all key skills for a good vigilante, while also gaining you Concealment while you're in dim light to darkness. Also, this gives you dark vision out to 60 feet, which helps to cover up one of the big weaknesses that humans have, namely not being able to see very well at night. Now, for a favored class bonus, humans gain a +1/2 to the disguise bonus on Seamless Guise. I mean, it does lean into a class skill, and it's a fairly notable feature. It's an iconic part of a feature for the Vigilante, but it's +1/2 at each level, whereas you could just take an extra hit point for while you're in the midst of combat, or an extra skill rank that you could just dump into disguise and have the full rank bonus into that, rather than, you know, just building that up. So it's not bad, but I struggle with it. I struggle with valuing that any higher, and go back and forth. But the next race that we have on selection for you is the Fetchling. Born with blood ties to the plane of shadow, Fetchlings will gain you a +2 bonus to dexterity and charisma while taking a -2 penalty to wisdom. Now, because you're a native outsider with those ties to the shadow plane, you gain the shadow blending ability, which gives a 50% miss chance while you're in dim lighting or darker. Now, this does not grant you total concealment, this just ups the miss chance percentage, and it makes it pretty handy overall. You also gain cold and electric resistance of 5, a +2 racial bonus on knowledge planes and stealth. You also get a surprising combination of low light vision and dark vision out to 60 feet. You also get Disguise Self for 1 time per day when when you're a first level character. And then by level 9 you gain Shadow Walk for yourself only. And at level 13 you pick up Plane Shift, only to the shadow and material planes, but you can do it once per day, and again, only for yourself. This is a handy way for you to be able to get around and get out of trouble, particularly if you're equipped with a means of getting back to where you need to be. All the way around, the Fetchling gets some pretty handy bonuses that just really mesh nicely with the overall theme and feel of the Vigilante. Now, they don't get any favored class bonus, so you're just stuck with taking the extra hit points or skill ranks. Whichever one you really need is going to be handy enough as it is, but I would probably lean towards hit points more often than not myself. The last and final race on selection for you today is the Vishkanya. A +2 bonus to dexterity and charisma, and another -2 penalty to wisdom here. You also gain a +1 bonus on saves versus poison, a +2 racial bonus on perception, escape artist, and stealth checks. You also gain low light vision and poison use, never risking poisoning yourself when applying poisons to weapons. You also gain the toxic ability, which provides you a number of uses equal to your constitution modifier per day to envenom weapons with either your toxic saliva or blood. Now, this poison basically has a fortitude save of DC 10 plus 1/2 your level plus your constitution modifier. Now, once per round for 6 rounds, the target has to make that fortitude save, or they take 1d2 damage to their dexterity score, which is actually pretty good given that dexterity is just that prime stat that affects a wide array of skills, defense, initiative. Now, for characters or targets that already have a low dexterity score, you're maybe not going to do a whole lot to them, but it's still going to have an effect overall. Definitely very handy there. You also pick up proficiency with kukri, blowguns, and shuriken. Again, like the Fetchling, you don't gain any extra favorite class bonuses, so you're just stuck with the hit points or skill points, and, well, you know which one I would probably pick there. Although again, the extra skill ranks can be pretty handy overall. Now, when it comes to your stats, this following array that we have here assumes that you have a 25-point buy at your disposal. If you're rolling for stats, or if you have a more limited point buy, then you're going to follow this general array of priorities here, focusing on your dexterity and charisma that are going to be your go-tos. They just affect the widest number of skills and abilities in combat for you. The next, though, is going to be your constitution as your next priority, because, well, combats where you're most likely to die, so having a few extra hit points is going to be handy, and in the Vishkanya's case, this does affect your toxic ability. Now, after that, I would say probably intelligence overall, but if you were going to switch this up in any way, shape, or form, I would say maybe switching over your charisma to strength. You certainly don't want a penalty to your charisma, but going into your strength will allow you to lean into more of a two-handed weapon fighting build overall, whereas with this, we're definitely going to be going with more of a dex focus. But then, finally, we come to the traits, and we have actually a number of interesting ones on hand here for you today. The first one is Reactionary, which gets you a +2 trait bonus on initiative, meaning this will stack with your dexterity modifier, the improved initiative feat, and any other sources you might have. Like say if you were to pick the Ifrit and get the Wildfire Heart trait for that +4 racial bonus to your initiative score, you'd be looking at +3 from dex, +2 from this, so 5 total right there, 4 from Wildfire Heart, and then another 4 from your improved initiative feat, should you take that, all coming up to about a +13 total on initiative before you even roll. So minimum 14 on a die roll right there. That's pretty insane. But that's if assuming you're going to be power gaming, and some of you out there may enjoy that, but not something I do myself. But this is still worthwhile for DMs to know about, so you can nix things if you really don't want your players going that route. Next, we have Armor Expert, which reduces armor check penalties by 1, which will be handy given the number of your skills that rely on dexterity and how much even medium armor can interfere with your check with your skills through the check penalties. Next is Unnatural Presence, just for a bit of flavor overall. This allows your Intimidate skill to work on animals and vermin. Definitely pretty cool, pretty handy there, definitely fits, although mechanically maybe not as effective as these other three, but still worth considering overall. And then lastly is Dangerously Curious. It's a +1 trait bonus to the Use Magic Device skill, and it becomes a class skill when you take this trait. This is how you become Batman. This is how you have a tool belt with all the different gadgets that you could possibly ever need. Leaning into Use Magic Device will allow you to use all these different magical items by tricking them into thinking you're of the appropriate class and have the appropriate spells necessary on your list to make use of the items. Definitely very handy and really opens up your array of options on the battlefield. Well, on and off the battlefield, really. But what do you think? Go on down to the comments below and let me know your thoughts. Did you like today's video? Did you dislike it? Is there anything you would change up? Any races that you might recommend? Certainly, half-elves, half-orcs, even halflings make for pretty good vigilantes overall, but there are still so many other choices out there, so go on down to the comments below. Let me know your thoughts, how you'd rearrange the stats, what other traits you might consider taking. All of these things I'm open to discussing. And remember, if you're new here to the Gamers Den, go on down there, hit the subscribe button, and become a regular member here. But with all that said, I've been your host, Jordan, your Master of Lore and Storyteller Extraordinaire. Thank you all so very much for your time, and you all have yourselves a good night.